Hey guys, the way I see it, college admissions is a game. Yes, a very stressful one, but like all games, you need to come into it with a strong strategy to win. And the way I see strategy in college admissions is first off, in building your school list. School list is one of the most important things you'll do because it lays the foundation of everything that's going to come in the future. I mean, the essays you write, the grades you got, the test scores, that all just goes to the schools you choose to apply to. If you're not applying to a school, none of that stuff matters. So in a way, school lists are one of the most important things. Now, what are the different types of school lists? Because I see a lot of people just talk about school lists in a very one-dimensional way. You put 3 reaches, 3 safeties, and you just fill out different bubbles or buckets of schools, and that's your list. But I see a lot of different approaches, including the one I myself took. So I want to talk about the kind of 3 common approaches I've seen that end up being successful and see which one's right for you. So, spray and pray. This is kind of just you fire as many shots as possible and you hope one of them hit. You don't care which one hits, you just want one of them to hit. And this is the approach I was in. So I knew I wanted to go to a top level school, I just didn't know which one. I had a couple of top choices. I really like Vanderbilt, I really like Princeton, some others, but at the end of the day, I had no idea what my top choice school was. That's why I didn't ED anywhere. So this is my strategy, spray and pray. I applied to a couple safeties, University of Iowa, which is just my state school, which I really wanted to go to. I was content going there. University of Alabama, and a couple other schools like that, and then like a couple kind of, not safeties, but probable schools, some target schools like some other out-of-state public universities, Wisconsin, Minnesota, stuff like that. But most of the schools I applied to were just complete reaches. Harvard, Yale, Stanford, Princeton, Brown, Dartmouth, Vanderbilt, just any top 20 school I applied. And this is what I call the spray and pray method. So you have a couple of safeties just in case it doesn't work out, but then you just apply to as many top schools as possible. One thing I learned in retrospect is I probably shouldn't have wasted time applying to like probable or target schools with this method, like the University of Virginia or UNC Chapel Hill. Those were schools like I probably would maybe get into, and I ended up getting into UVA and waitlisted at UNC. But it's just like I wasn't going to go there anyways because I was content going to Iowa or one of the other schools I mentioned that were safeties for me. So the spray and pray method is built on kind of 2 extremes. You apply to a couple safeties, and then you just apply to a whole lot of reaches, and you just hope you get lucky and one of them hits. Because again, it's a numbers game. The more you apply to, the more chance you have at getting into college. So that was my method, and that might be the method for you. But maybe you fall into the balance category. You know, maybe you don't sure if you want to go to a top level school. You have a couple out-of-state public universities that are like targets that you're interested in. You're kind of all over. You're just a standard applicant. Maybe you ED to a top school and you're like, okay, how am I going to fill my list in? And this is what we call the balanced approach. And this is the approach we talk about most in the program because it fits most students. You apply to 2 to 3 safeties, 2 to 3 targets, 2 to 3 probable schools, and 2 to 3 reaches. It's pretty standard. You apply to 8 to 12 universities in total. I guess I didn't talk about it in spray and pray, but as long as you apply to your like 2 safeties, apply to as many schools as you want. You can apply to 20, 25, 30, maybe just 15, maybe 10, whatever you want. Balanced, it's more so 8 to 12. I mean, of course you can increase that and have like a balanced school list of 16, but this is just a standard, nice way to craft your school list. It might work well for you. The last approach I saw, which I actually didn't know about until after college admissions, was the sniper approach. This is, you have a few targets and you really just put your all into landing those targets. This was Trinity, who I interviewed for the Ivy Roadmap. She applied to 4 schools, 2 kind of safeties near her, and then Harvard, Stanford. Harvard and Stanford, that was it. Because, again, like she was content going to one of the schools she applied to as her safeties, but she knew she would really, really, really want to go to Harvard or Stanford. So she spent so much time on just these 2 applications to make them as strong as possible. And I actually really like this method. It's not the method that would have fit me personally, just because I didn't know where I wanted to go, spray and pray. But this is a great method if you're kind of like, okay, I like these 3 schools. Spend your time on those 3 schools. Don't waste your time trying to fire off a balanced 8 to 12 schools. I like this method a lot. For me, it would have been like, okay, apply to the University of Iowa, you get in, roll into admissions, you're good to go, you're into college. Now my other 3, maybe it would have been Vanderbilt, Princeton, and Dartmouth. And I just take all my time to fill out those 3 applications and just act like a sniper. who's mechanically going after it with everything I have. Because that is the downside of the spray and pray method. You're wasting a lot of time writing essays to schools you don't even want to go to just to kind of shoot your shot out there. Where the sniper method, you're saving the most time possible and you're maximizing your chance of admissions at the core schools you want to go to. So that's the last thing I'll touch on before I end off this video, the time involved for each of these. I was spray and pray, and boy did I write a lot of essays. Of course, you can reuse them and kind of modify them here and there to make them fit, but I mean, you're applying to 20 schools if you're doing spray and pray like me, and that's like 60 supplemental essays, you know, it's not very fun. Balance, this is good. This is where most people are, you're applying to 8 to 12 schools, you're writing your 25, 30 supplemental essays. That's pretty fair. Sniper, you're writing 10 to 12 supplementals, maybe even less depending on what schools you're applying to, and you just make them so strong, which you're gonna have to spend a lot of time meticulously going over them, making sure they're perfect, which maybe you like, but at the end of the day, you're applying to less schools, it's gonna be less time. So here are just 3 kind of common types of lists I've seen looking at the college admissions process now in retrospect, and hopefully one of these kind of fits the mold you want to apply to schools with. All right, thank you. Have a good one.